always think of it like a verb, right? It has to be an action that you want them to do. So, have the word get or download or book, a book or call, etc. Like, make sure there's a verb in there. And the other tip as well for button copy, and we know from split testing, if you put the word your, like download your free report or whatever, verse download my free report, the word my converts better than your, because it's the first person that's downloaded. They want their free report.
Welcome to the Web Design Business Podcast with your host, Josh Hall, helping you build a web design business that gives you freedom and a lifestyle you love.
Hello, my friend. It's great to have you here. Is there ever a better time to talk about website conversion than Black Friday and the holidays? I think not. I actually think it's important to always think about website conversions. And that's what we're going to do in this one. And I can't think of a better guest to dive deep into this topic, because we are going to get nerdy and subsequently more profitable in this one with the expert on website conversion, the guy who just recently wrote the book on the subject. This is Greg Merrilees. He's a repeat guest on the show. His agency, Studio One Design, is one that I feature in several of my courses. I truly look up to him as like the conversion expert. He just wrote the book on it, which is called Next Level Website Design: How to Stand Out in an AI Era and Convert Your Visitors into Sales 24/7. So that's what we're getting into with this one. Make sure to check out the show notes for all the links that we mentioned. We do cover a few additional resources that will be found in the show notes for this one, which could be found at joshhall.co/405. And again, I really recommend that you check out Greg's book, Next Level Website Design. Remember that everything you apply to your site, you can apply to client sites, and that will make you way more valuable, and you can charge a lot more. So let's help you do all that and more by talking website conversion with the man, Greg Merrilees. Well, Greg, it's great to have you back on the show, man. Author now of Next Level Website Design. I have my signed copy right here. So really appreciate that, man. Anytime I get a package from Australia, it just feels super cool. So thanks, man.
Excellent. You're very welcome. Yeah. But, you've been a part of my journey as well. We've both been in the same coaching community, and now you've got your own community. And I've been watching what you've done, and I've listened to your podcast ever since you interviewed me initially. And I think you've got a great podcast. You have great guests and you do great case studies with your members. So it's really super valuable, even for me.
Well, thank you, man. That's an honor to hear. It is pretty cool. I'm glad that you said that, just because I've been doing it for 6 years now, coming up on 6 years. And I feel
and 400 episodes nearly.
Yeah, I think you'll be 400 plus. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah, there you go.
So what's interesting though, is I take for granted the variety that we get on the show. Like we have, like you mentioned, some case studies with members of my community who may be in the first year of their business, but they're getting wins. And folks like yourself who have been in the industry for years and are at the top of the echelon of like folks to learn from. So
I wouldn't say that, really, but Chris, cool. You had Chris Doe on. He's at the top.
Chris Doe, Amy Porterfield, Mike McAllowitz. But what is cool about that is
Troy Dean,
James Stramko was on a couple of years ago. I mean, it is kind of cool that we all learn from each other. And I think you tell me, like, isn't it kind of cool to hear some of the folks who are getting started now and to see what their first couple years are like versus, when you got started?
It's so different, man. Honestly, I've been in this game forever, like been in graphic design forever. I switched to website designs in 2012, 2013. But before that, I'm pretty old, So when I first started graphic design, we used to have a dark room in the graphics department, right? And in there, we had this big Danagraph camera, which we used to enlarge bromides. So we're talking very like 25, 30 years ago. Yeah.
Well, let's just dive in because, here's what I want to start off with here. Why write a book on website conversion now? Because when I was just thinking about, what things were like 20, 25 years ago, I don't know if there was the terminology of website conversion and maybe even design. I don't know. I don't know what it looked like. But why do you feel like now is a time to, for lack of a better term, double click into website conversion?
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's a few reasons, but say initially, I'm a learner, right? I love learning. And so that's why I listen to so many podcasts and read books and watch, YouTube videos and all that sort of good stuff. And I would say having that mindset of always trying to learn, you do that when you create content as well, you research. And so then I realized after, probably 8 years of doing research and writing content and getting interviewed and learning from all these experts that it's time to I had so much knowledge. It was just time. It was just time. It didn't matter that AI is coming or you're in this type of era or whatever. The point is that it was ready for me to, share my knowledge essentially. And also, the biggest problem is, for business owners, and I know most of your audience are designers, but they design for business owners. And, a lot of the problem is that these website designers use all these fancy animation effects and parallax and all these things, interacting things flying all over the page as you scroll. But unfortunately, those things don't convert, right? And we do a lot of split testing with our conversion optimization service. And so realistically, I just want to show people with this book that it's not about the fancy effects. It's about trusted principles that work, decade after decade. Even if AI comes in, you can still use AI if you understand these principles to use AI to get you a better result with your website and copy.
Are the principles that worked 20, 25 years ago? I know you weren't in web then per se, but just based off of your knowledge in design, would you say all those principles still hold true today in large part?
Yeah, 100%. Because it's more about psychological drivers. And there's one book, Don't Make Me Think, by Steve Krug, which is a very old book. It's probably 15 years old. And it's exactly talking about, why people buy and, the elements on the page, the way they're visually organized to attract people, their eye tracking to the right part of the page. But it goes so much deeper than that. But yeah, so the point is, these principles have been around for a while, but that's just part of it. And then learning from Robert Cialdini and his book Influence, he has other books too, but those principles are timeless, and they're principles on how to persuade people to take action in life, not just on your website, but we use those principles on website design. So yeah, it goes deeper than just design principle. It's more about the psychology, copywriting frameworks, pretty much anything that's going to persuade people to take action on your website.
I'll make sure we link both of those books up. And what I think this is great. And I'm actually glad that we recorded an episode a while back that kind of unpacks your story and how you build your agency. That was episode 330 for anyone who wants to go back and hear about kind of your journey in building your agency up and serving so many clients and scaling. Because I would imagine, and it's funny because even before we connected, I featured your site in a lot of my courses as like a great example of conversion-based design. I would imagine a cornerstone to your agency growth and sustainability is just conversion design, right? I mean, that's what I know you as. I imagine that's like the key to your guys' success.
Exactly. So, and you'll notice that if you had a screenshot of our website in your course, maybe 2 years ago, it's going to look a lot different today. It's probably going to look different next week and the week after and next month, because we're constantly A/B testing and iterating. And that is the key to a high converting website. So sure, start with all the principles and all of the, design elements and brand positioning, which is a huge thing. We can talk about brand positioning. But then, after that, it comes down to your website is never finished. So you've got to constantly iterate. You've got to look at all of the users on your website through Heatmaps, through videos, through all of your analytics, the pathways that they're taking from page to page, and then hypothesize, which is really just a fancy word saying, figure out what you can try next to capitalize more of those users to turn them into a conversion. A conversion could be just a click to get to another page, could be to book a call, to buy something, download a lead magnet, start a free trial, etc. It's really just making sure you want to increase that conversion rate overall on every page of your website.
Let's drill in real quick, because I would love to talk about brand positioning, but real quick, do you think there should just be one call to action throughout a site, especially what are your thoughts on that? Because I have mixed feelings. Of course, it might depend, but I have seen and learned that if you tell people, if you have, for example, contact us, let's talk, get started, schedule a call, and buy now on a homepage, that's 5 different call to actions. Confusion is a great way to lose business. Like, I've just really more and more felt very, very secure in telling my students one call to action. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. So, okay, there's different types of use cases, right? So let's say if it is a membership website like your Web Designer Pro, then you really just want one call to action, which would be to join the membership, right? Because you could probably imagine that everybody that's on that page have heard of you through your podcast or through other means, maybe YouTube, maybe, other members. And so they're relatively warm. I wouldn't say they're completely cold. And so it does depend on how cold, warm, or hot your visitors are, right? And so for you, if they don't join, then I would have an exit pop that is offering something of value in return for an email address that might just be, a lead magnet of some sort. These days, we're using AI to create a lot of interactive lead magnets as opposed to PDFs. They're both, effective, but people want results instantly. But if you're talking for a homepage of a service business or a business coach, or it could be an e-commerce, it could be any type of business where you have cold, warm, and hot traffic, then you need to cater to their intent, and you don't know what their intent is. And so therefore, if it's a homepage like my homepage, for instance, we've got in the top nav, we've got a sticky call to action, which is for the free resources. So that's for cold leads, right? And then we know from heat tracking, the main thing people want to see on a web designer's business website is their folio. So that's our main call to action. And then underneath that, we have different pathways based on their specific needs, which could be for them to look at our branding, look at our website design. And if they do click on our web design service, there is a pop-up that will segment them into the type of business that they are, from a personal brand to a service business to e-commerce, etc. And so you really want to try and cater to cold, warm, and hot, but then segment them based on their unique situation. So yeah, I would say, sure, if your traffic's warm, you can have one call to action. But if you're, if you're catering to cold, warm, and hot, you need multiple.
Gotcha. Okay, that's good. That's good. Good debate on that then. And maybe that is
cool.
Because I am typically helping web designers who have a warm audience. It's rare. Like I'm not helping people with PPC or cold traffic or marketing strategies that are generally at scale. It's typically like referral groups. Somebody hears about you, or they met a networking group. They go to your website. It's like the final conversion piece. So that makes total sense that there should be a strategy in place for cold, kind of medium, and hot there. I am curious with your website, and as you mentioned, this may change even by the time this goes live, but how I'm trying to remember what this looked like when I featured it, particularly in my design course. I thought your main call to action was to either like get started or something, or something like that. Why? I guess one question is why free resources and view portfolio? So I guess that would probably get two. That would get a cold audience and kind of a medium audience.
But also the top nav is sticky site-wide top nav, right, for the entire website. Apart from the sales pages, we don't have the same top nav. We have an individual navigation for that particular sales page that when pressed, anything in that top nav will anchor link down the page. But basically, it's because if they're on the blog or if they're on, any other type of page on our website, we want them to see that free resource. Okay, because they may not be ready to buy yet. But so sure, it's on the homepage, but like I said before, the main thing they want to do is click on the folio and check out our folio. So that's why we have that as the main call to action in the main banner.
Gotcha. But I just checked it out, and your sales pages have get a quote as the main call to action.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. So, it does. There's various button copy. It's all leading to the same thing, which is a form, which will then lead to book a call. However, the button copy throughout the page, we're testing various wording. So it might say get a quote on one button, and then it might say, I want a high converting website. Like there's all various, button copy within that single page, but it all leads to the same thing. But you'll notice on those sales pages, there's no top nav at all until you start scrolling.
Gotcha. So somebody could zip right there and then without even scrolling, boom, move forward.
Well, the point is, when somebody's on your homepage, you want to show them the top nav, all the things that you offer, essentially, right? But then when they go to an individual sales page, you don't want them to go off to any other leakage points, which are other pages on your website. If they're on a sales page, you want them to do that one thing. So we don't have a top nav at all. Until they start scrolling, then a top nav will appear, but it just anchor links down to each section of the page, each relevant section of the page.
Gotcha. Let's dive into buttons. You mentioned the buttons. You're trying some different wording. What are you seeing working well for your clients? Is this industry specific with how creative and fun you can get? Because I've seen so many different call to action buttons that are like, yes, I want this now, or it's just plain join now, or get me in, whatever it is. Like, what are your thoughts on the actual verbiage for buttons?
I would say test, because every business is different, every audience is different. So it's a good idea to, represent your brand with a button copy, but always think of it like a verb, right? It has to be an action that you want them to do. So, have the word get or download or book, a book or call, etc. Like, make sure there's a verb in there. And the other tip as well for button copy, and we know from split testing, if you put the word your, like download your free report or whatever, versus download my free report, the word my converts better than your, because it's the first person that's downloaded. They want their free report.
Gotcha. That's really cool. I see. That's what's so great about kind of your high level view on this, to your bird's eye view, just because I know you're so into A/B testing and research. And I imagine that's great for clients too, because you could be like, hey, we tried this out on this client, and just by switching the your to my, we could roll this out.
We do that a lot. Sorry to cut you off. I'm just thinking there's one thing in particular that a lot of designers miss. So designers listening, pay attention to this one. So if you think about the hamburger menu on mobile for most websites, most people just do exactly the same what's in their top navigation, right? And they'll just list it down the page. However, that we've done dozens of tests on various websites from e-commerce to service businesses, and what we've discovered is that in mobile menu, from the hamburger drop down, we can generally see which ones are getting clicked on the most, and so therefore we'll reorder those, and it's usually different to what's on the top nav of a desktop. Not only do we reorder them, but we put social proof in there. We put images for services. We have sliders that go across the page. Kind of think of it like an app in an app store, where you'll see 2.5 squares, and the half indicates that there's more, and you can scroll across. So we do that with our navigation in drop down menus, and the results are incredible. Like, it's almost like a mini sales page in a very short format, and it's really just all above the fold on a mobile screen. But the results are incredible. You'll get way better results if you put a lot of effort into thinking about that mobile menu.
Would you recommend on mobile, especially for sites who may have quite a few pages, or even if it's 5 to 10 pages, like, I don't know on mobile if folks are going to research the same way they would on desktop? May depend on the industry, of course, but do you recommend basically a condensed version of the site on mobile?
Yeah, absolutely. So think about, accordions, things would be collapsed, not expanded. You can still have the same amount of information, but just presents it in a different way. But I would say absolutely. Obviously, you need to optimize all of the images, recode them, re-upload them as a WebP that's at the actual size, not just a large image that's reduced down in size. But in general, you want to simplify it, because and especially if people are coming to your website from paid traffic, they're not going to give you much time. So they're going to stop at headlines. They're not going to read a lot. So it just needs to give them exactly what they need, and then have the right pathway based on their intent.
Before we move into brand positioning, I want to ask you this, Greg, and I want to say I will not be offended if you don't agree with this. Okay. If you feel like you need to shred it, just hit me. But I've tried a few different and toiled around with this, but I've landed on using Become a Pro for my main call to action on Web Designer Pro. This is a super timely conversation, because actually for the past 2 weeks, I've been building out the new version of webdesignerpro.com, Right now, it's just one big landing page. The next version are going to be segmented pages for courses, community coaching, and expands on a few other areas, and a separate page for me as a business coach for SEO. So I'm wondering, should become a pro be the main call to action still, or do you feel like, what are your thoughts on that? Or we just join now and do it?
Yeah, I mean, it has a verb in it, become, right? So that's a good thing. And look, I would say the word in pro ties in with your brand, and that's what you're taking people from, just a web designer to a web designer pro. So it ties in with your main messaging. I don't have a problem with it. If you're concerned about it, potentially split test it against something else, join now or join membership. Join membership has more clarity. And, I guess if it says become a pro, there's not as much clarity. But if you read the headline before it and the sub headline, it's pretty clear on what's going to happen if they press that button.
Well, you definitely encouraged me to, once I roll out these pages with, particularly because I have a tiered community now, particularly with the course pages, the community pages, and then the coaching page, to probably have the main call to action be separate on those, have one, join courses, join community, join coaching, or something like that. Yeah. Again, I'm going to take another book out of the Studio One Design website book. So
excellent. Yeah. And like I keep saying, you've got to test these things because we're only guessing. And, everything that you have on this page is best practice. You have a ton of social proof. You have benefits. You let people know what they can expect. And I think it's got all the elements, right? But if you were to split test this and change the call to action button or change some sections around, just try moving some sections up or down the page, you might find just doing little things like that could tweak your conversions might be another 10%, which is huge.
What are you using to do split testing? And measuring as well? Are you using like Microsoft Clarity or anything, or a different heat map tool?
Love that. If anybody has not heard of Microsoft Clarity, get it, put it on your website. It's totally free. It's forever free. And that has heat maps and, user videos of everybody that's on your website. And they have AI built into it as well to summarize pages, because it can be time consuming and overwhelming to, study the user behavior. So that's one tool. But then for split testing, Visual Website Optimizer is a great tool for that. There's plenty of other tools as well, but that's one that we've, sort of leaned on the most lately. There's some WordPress plugins that are half decent as well. But yeah, that's one that we use for split testing.
Gotcha. And I'm a Divi guy. I'm pretty sure I haven't used it, but I think Divi has an A/B split tester. Pretty sure.
Cool.
Now I imagine before figuring out your call to action or call to actions, it's probably all about how you're positioned. So when it comes to like cold, medium, or hot audiences, is that kind of where brand positioning comes in, or do you view brand positioning differently?
Differently, yeah. So what we're trying to do here is think about your audience. If they're looking for a solution to a problem, which is, the definition of a business, you provide solutions, then they're going to be searching in various places. They'll look, on the internet, they'll look at LLMs, they'll ask these questions, and they'll find a whole range of competitors to you. So what brand positioning is all about is how do you differentiate from your competitors, right? So, and it might, be a range of things from the way you, it might be the amount of years you've been in business, it might be the way you do business, it might be the offer, it might be the type of clients you serve, the social proof. There's different ways that you can dive deep into thinking about how are you different from your competitors. And then when you figure that out, that needs to be part of your marketing messaging across all of your marketing, right? So, I mean, if we look at your Web Designer Pro, you've got helping web designers build, grow, and scale a lifestyle website design business. So like that to me really talks to your audience. It's really talking to beginners and, people that are sort of mid-range, if anything, that want to get off the tools potentially. I know some of your members just want to stay on the tools, but if you're going to build a lifestyle business, essentially, then you really need to grow a team, if you want to grow, build, and scale. So that's part of you're getting who your target audience is within your messaging. But if you were to, and you probably know who your competitors are, if you were to compare your messaging to their messaging, how similar is it? And can you differentiate even more to attract your ideal client?
Would you suggest, and I'm happy to make this a live case study and get real-time coaching with you here. I know it'll benefit everybody. Because one thing I had thought about as we start to expand webdesignerpro.com to a multi-page site and eventually add some resources, one thing I thought about doing was a comparison blog about different web design business coaches and how I'm different. And pretty much all of them are my friends, so I'm not going to trash them. But I do want to be really clear. And it's funny you mentioned Troy Dean earlier. Like, I often tell people, Troy's great. Agency Mavericks is great. Web Designer Pro is not Agency Mavericks. Like, if you have a 6-figure agency and you're all about PPC and SEO, honestly, you're better to go with them. But if you're a freedom-based web designer who wants a small, lean and mean team, we're perfect for you. Perfect for getting folks to $250K to $500K. We're not really I'm not a 7-figure web designer coach. So those are the kind of little things I had thought about doing that. So my question would be, like, on a homepage or elsewhere, would you recommend having a section that just hits the top highlights of that and then move them to the blog post for more kind of thing?
Absolutely. So there's a website that we've designed, which is Saks School Online. And if you check out their .com, if you check out their homepage, they actually have a section that has a comparison chart on there between them and competitor offers, right? If I just scroll down to that section, what they have is a cost comparison. So they have, if you were to join a music academy, it's like $42,000 a year, private lessons, $2,600 a year, Saks School, $1.32 a day. But then they have a comparison chart for all of the things that they offer versus a private lesson. And so, it's a big difference there. But yes, for you, I would call out more, whether it's in a comparison chart or whether it is just that point of difference between you and Troy Dean's community. And you don't want to call him out, of course, but, really have a section to differentiate, to talk about exactly how you're different to the other ones.
That's a great idea. Well, what about linking? I guess this may be more of an SEO question, but what about linking to them? Because we're in a similar industry. From an SEO perspective, I would probably be okay with that. I guess probably don't want to send people elsewhere to say join over here instead of me. Of course, it depends, but what about that idea of getting really granular? I mean, honestly, I've had them all on my podcast too, so it could be like a good, here's my interview with Troy. You want to get to know him? Here it is. And then that might be a good fit.
That's what I was going to say. You're not scared to interview your competitors. He's not a direct competitor anyway. But there's so many website designers out there. I don't think it's a great idea, link into his website from your sales page or from your pro website, but you're linking to him from your podcast, which is your personal brand website. And I think that's enough, personally. But
that's what I'll do. I'll just link to the podcast episode. And if they want to, then they could go from there. That's a great idea. That's a good idea.
Exactly. Yeah. So I've got an AI interactive author, which has my entire book uploaded to it. And I've just loaded it up now. And I've said, and it's got a whole bunch of parameters. I said, can you review my website? And then it's just, what is it? Webdesignerpro.com, right? I can share my screen if you want me to go through this.
I don't know. Yeah. Can we do this when the new version goes out? It's going to shred me.
No problem.
Hey, but while you're pulling that up, I'm going to let my golden retriever in. She's scratching my door. Keep on going, though. Keep on going. All righty. So is this tool something that you have that's proprietary?
No, it's totally free. It's a lead magnet for anybody. Or ChatGPT. Tell me if you can see that.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah. So if anybody goes to my book website, nextlevelwebsitedesign.com/free, they'll get this tool. They'll get a whole bunch of resources. But this and a workbook for the book, various things. But this is a tool where you just say, can you review my website? And say, sure, what's the URL? So I pop that in. Blah, blah, blah. And so it's just confirming what you are. Is that correct? You just say yes. Now it's going to go through clarity of message. It's going to go through, we'll come back to this, but all these things, blah, blah, blah. It's like 9 areas that are really important. So it's picked up brand positioning, your competitors, Flux Academy, the future. There you go. We talked about him earlier. Designership. I don't know that one. Okay. So it's saying this is what's unique about each of them, right? So Flux Academy, premium web design course, big focus on design skills and freelancing. Compared to The Future, huge advantage community with training or design, branding, and business. Blah, blah, blah. So it doesn't give a lot of info, but it's saying how you can differentiate. Position Web Designer Pro as a practical mentor-led community where freelance designers actually scale a business. That's not bad, right? So
that's pretty good.
Yeah. And so what we're going to do is ask this, what is the difference between Web Designer Pro and Agency Maverick? Let's have a look. Yeah, I even knew to put the S in because I left it out.
Oh, this is where that blog post could help so much. We've been talking a lot about AI search, so like getting really detailed so these engines know, okay, here's the blog post on all the differences.
Yeah, exactly. So, all right. So it's giving you what you're all about, Josh Hall's membership, all these things, right? And so then it's going to say agency Mavericks, blah, 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 is all these things. Now we're just, okay, it's got the key differentiators. How good is this?
Wow, look at this. Oh, I'm using the F out of this, dude. I'm going to make this a blog post.
Exactly. All right. So then you can deep dive and you can have a conversation with it and say, you know, what about this angle? And I like this idea, but what about that? And then it can help you formulate your USP and your whole section to differentiate. Yeah. What should my USP?
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, go ahead. This is great. I'll definitely make sure we have the resources linked up in the show notes for this one too at the Next Level Website Design.com. So this was the
I'll just ask it this. Hang on. Because I've got speech on. What would be a good headline for Web Designer Pro to differentiate from Agency Mavericks and all the other competitors?
It's going to say, Josh nailed it. He's good. He's already got it.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay, it's got some... Yeah, it's got some options. Look, I would say brainstorm with it, and this is just obviously a 2-minute test, but yeah,
great subheading too. Great subheading, and I may even use those for like testimonial section headings. And put it into your marketing, your YouTube shorts, your Instagram posts, etc. Yeah, this is great, Greg. Well, thanks so much, man. This is a fun little free audit, dude. This is awesome. I can't wait to play around with it. So was that one, I'm looking at your free resources. Was that the AI interactive author, the first one there?
Correct. Yeah. You get them all. Okay. You just opt in, you get all those things, which there's a lot of really valuable stuff in there that your community would love. It's like a blueprint with there's so many valuable things, including full case studies, and mood boards and client interviews. And there's like, I think 7 PDFs in there, a whole range of things.
Heck yeah, man. That'll be the main resource we get out on this one for sure. That's great. And I
Awesome.
I think it's important to have this idea. I mean, it depends on how far I guess a web designer is going with creating copy and if they are doing that, if it's SEO related. But I mean, even if you're not quote unquote a copywriter as a web designer, you're going to do some copy. So why not have this as the resource that you kick projects off? Clients would see this and be like, how much? Let's get this going.
Yeah, it's a really valuable tool. I use it all the time. Every time I get a new client, a new prospect, I'll ask this tool to review their website with those 9 points. And then, I will record a video and run through sharing, my screen talking about these points that my AI came up with based on my book. So super helpful. And then we get sales from that. So any of your designers could do the same thing with this tool.
So brand positioning is basically differentiation. If we could distill it, is that fair?
Yeah, exactly. And also not just differentiation from your competitors, but think about making sure it aligns with your offer and your price point, right? So if you're Mercedes-Benz, you don't want it to look like it's it looks like a Walmart looking design. You know what I mean? Like you've got to match the design with the price point. Otherwise people will, won't expect it to be as like, let's say you've got a high-end brand. Let's say, look at your Web Designer Pro versus maybe one of your higher level competitors. I think your look and feel, the color palette suits your target audience, who you're trying to attract, right? But let's say if you're a really high tier, you're a coach, business coach, and you charge $25,000 a year, like most of them do. If they don't have a really high-end pro-looking design that looks really slick, professional photography, all that stuff, then people won't think that they're as good as they are just by looking at their website. So your website design can let you down if it doesn't position you correctly.
Yeah, or vice versa. It can make you look awesome, even if you're just getting going.
Yeah. And then if you do sell really, low-end commodity type products and your website looks too expensive, that people think, oh, maybe this stuff's not for me. I want cheap stuff.
What are your thoughts on, I guess, color palette, but also just design in general with that thought? I guess what makes an elegant design when it comes to like higher end, whether it's coaching or Yeah,
high contrast, a lot of dark background. You don't want too much dark background, though, with white text because it's quite hard to read. It won't pass the ADA compliance things and all that, but I wouldn't worry about that too much for a smaller business. But high contrast, dark background, even having some luxury textures in there as well, in the background, lighting, just things that make things look and feel premium. If you look at any watch website, they look premium. If you go to Tag Heuer or Rolex, like have a look at those websites. They're just very high contrast, dark backgrounds, light backgrounds, like as in black and white. And then they just let their product be the hero with photography. And it's really not much copy. I mean, I don't like using it. I understand copyright is extremely important, but if you have a warm audience or a well-known brand, and that comes from good brand positioning and marketing, then less copy will still be totally fine. It's only when you're a challenger brand, like smaller guys, like most of your audience, then I wouldn't simplify the copy too much because you're missing out on letting your prospects know what's unique about you, how you can solve their problem, and the fact that you understand their situation and their problems as well. If you just skim over all that and don't include it because you just want to showcase your cool folio, people won't know why they should choose you over your competitors and that you have a solution for them specifically.
What are some of your favorite personal conversion tips and tricks?
Favorite? Oh, there's so many. Honestly, I think it just starts with a good foundation. Like there's no real... You've just got to split test everything.
Whenever you want, but I'm kind of curious. Yeah.
I would say copywriting, you can have the biggest wins by tweaking your copywriting. All right. Like that's easier to create, different versions. By the way, you don't have to A/B split test at the same time. If you have low traffic, you can split test over time. So 1 week, change the copy to this. Next week, change it to that and just see what happens with your conversions. So, you don't need fancy tools. You can test over time. But, copywriting is surprising how you can get the biggest wins just by making copy tweaks. So, to me, that's what everybody should be trying first.
And now it'd be a mixture of headline, call to actions, differentiators.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, kind of what you outline in the author, the AI author.
Yeah. I would also say, like, if you have any type of business that is growing, you've probably collected a lot of social proof, and whether that's in the form of written testimonials, video testimonials, full case studies, etc. And what we find is having a dedicated page for all that on our website. People just go to that page and go, oh, wow, okay, that's a lot of social proof. They may not read it all or watch all the videos, but when you have hundreds of these things in one page, like, sure, you want to spread social proof over every page, but if you have a dedicated page to social proof, it can be super powerful. We got one client, it's called pianoin21days.com. He has this social proof page that has so much social proof. He has to segment it into age group, into cities. Like he's got literally thousands of social proof, in one page. So
what's he using? I'm using Sinja now for all my testimonials.
Great.
What's he using?
Yeah, we've had clients who've used that. I don't know what he's using personally. We designed his website, but then he had somebody else build it, so I don't know what he uses. But
gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, you're just reaffirming. I'm feeling good because you're reaffirming everything I'm working on with the new version of WebDesignerPro.com, which will be live by the time this airs. So
Excellent.
But the social proof, what I realize, and this is for anyone, I think it's funny because with testimonials, they tend to just creep in over time, especially if you're really active on getting them. And then depending on if they're per product or for a whole brand in general, it's very surprising how many you'll have. Like, I know my business is different than a service-based web designer, but I looked recently and I'm like, I've got over 350 course testimonials. And then I've got 100 plus video testimonials that talk about pro and are in different aspects of my coaching or my community. So we're currently working on loading all of those into Sinja. And then they are dedicated to Web Designer Pro as a whole, Web Designer Pro courses, Web Designer Pro community, and Web Designer Pro coaching. And I'm really doing that same approach of like course testimonials, community testimonials, coaching testimonials.
Perfect.
Same
do you have
thing with
any
the
case?
reviews.
Yeah, I would segment them all on one page. But do you have any case studies from them, like a proper, full-length case study? Yeah.
That is the next ones we're working on. I'm going to launch it with just the main reviews page, and then I'm going to start to add full stories, like full-on case studies.
Yeah.
With probably start off with half a dozen and up to probably a dozen of my pro members who are like, they're like just such a good story. This is the kind of person I want in this category.
Yeah, exactly. And you've done case study podcast episodes. If you turn some of them into actual one page per case study where you talk about their situation before they came to you, what their challenges and problems were, and what their tool stack was and all these things. And then when they joined Pro, they learned all these, they saw a whole new world and all these things changed for them, and, what your involvement was, and, et cetera. And then what the results were, right? If you have nice visuals with all these things as well. And with the results, it's, they went from this to that and blah, blah, blah. And then you have some impact metrics of what it meant to their business. And then a nice testimonial, whether that's in written or video. Like, that is a killer case study page that you would only need like 3 to 6 of those type of pages, and potentially targeting slightly different areas of your target audience, and then add them to your email marketing nurture sequence. Do podcast episodes on each one of them and send people directly to those case study pages. Obviously, the call to action is to join Designer Pro, right? And so, that could be a really powerful strategy, because if you just do that wall of love page, it can be overwhelming. They may not know what to focus on. And if you had individual, just one case study, a full story, it can be, super powerful.
So, well, first of all, I'm going to take that transcript and use that as the outline for the case study pages. Because I have three I'm working on right now. But I was going back and forth on like what to ask, where to position it. But what you laid out right there before you join, after you join, results with the visuals, testimonial, and then some of those little finer aspects in there. That was gold. So I'll use that as the prompt.
Yeah, if you pick from your best testimonials, let's say a dozen, and if you send them an email, say, hey, look, I'm redesigning my website. I'd love to use you, one of my favorite clients or customers, whatever you call them, or pro members, as a case study on my website. And then you just ask those questions that what was your situation like before you came to us? How did we help? What were the results? That could be turned into the case study. And then you interview them on Zoom or, Riverside, whatever you want to use.
Do you do a lot of those case studies? Do you, for folks who want to do this with clients, even if it's just on a smaller level with maybe 3, do you send a client the list of questions so they're prepared and then you go into it? Or do you try to keep it more loose and conversational?
We say, look, if you want to do a written testimonial or a video or jump on a call and I interview you, either way, use this format. I'll leave it to them.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then you see if you get enough information from it, and then you can, see, if not, ask them if you can jump on a call. Like, there's many ways to handle it, but it has to be around that situation, challenge, results, because, or how you help, and then results, because that's what people, cold prospects, when they see themselves in that situation and they can see, oh, wow, yeah, I can see myself. And yeah, I had those same problems, and I do have those problems now. I need to join this community because, wow, look at the results he's got or she's got.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, what's kind of cool is for me and anyone who has a lot of social proof already, I could definitely create probably a dozen full-on success stories based off of that framework with the existing testimonial and then the podcast interview if they want to go further.
Love it.
Yeah, this gives me a lot of clarity. Thanks for that, Greg. This feels a lot more clear to me on like, okay, I feel good about just wrapping up, because I actually had ChatGPT. I took the transcript and ran it through there for one of my recent podcast interviews, but it just wasn't great. And it was probably the prompt. I had it make a case study, but it left me confused reading it. So I wanted to make sure I avoided a confusing story as a case study.
Got it. Well, even use the interactive author of my book, and it could take whatever answers you get from these people and turn it into a more substantial case study and get their approval, of course. But yeah, it'll, they may not give you exactly what you want, so you can tweak it.
What are some hidden conversion tips that we haven't hit on that maybe web designers aren't thinking of, or maybe they're missing? I think we covered like the foundational best conversion principles there for sure, with just the idea of clear headings, the copy, call to actions between hot, medium, and kind of a cold audience, differentiators. We just went through a little masterclass there of case studies versus reviews and what's something else, or is there anything else that we're missing?
Segmenting, I think, is super important, not just for your designers to put on their websites, but for when they're designing their clients' websites. Don't think of it as a catch-all, because let's say you're designing for a service business, but they have various, we'll call them buckets, like different buckets of target audiences. You really want to segment them and have a landing page that talks to each one of those buckets. Or it might be a different offer. It could be an accountant that does bookkeeping, accounting, and I don't know, maybe they have a membership or something else. So they're totally different offers. And so you really want to, segment first, and then have like not just a landing page, but a whole funnel around that, from a lead magnet that leads into that, to cater to cold and warm people. And then on the thank you page, there's probably one of the hidden missing things that most designers miss, which is having an amazing thank you page with a video face to camera that says, thank you for whatever they've just done, but then invites them into the next step of the funnel and explain the benefits of that next step, etc. And if it is, for instance, to let's say if somebody's booked a call with you, I like to have FAQs in that thank you page video that talks to their objections or frequently asked questions that you hear on those sales calls, because then when people, A, they'll show up to those sales calls, and B, they'll be more likely to convert because you've handled all of the objections in your thank you page video.
So I want to be completely selfish and ask a Web Designer Pro question here. Again, I know everything we cover are going to help folks as they're working on their lead generators and their segments. But so my segments for Web Designer Pro are builders. I call them builders, growers, and scalers. Builders are folks who are early on. They may be brand new to web design, or they probably have started in some way and they're one that gets serious, but they're essentially a starter. So I currently have a free starter lead generator that's like a 1-hour training with all my tips on getting started. And awesome. I'm going to revamp that for the new version of Web Designer Pro. So that'll be my lead generator for the builder. I've got one for growers who have a business that's cooking, but they want to get to 6 figures. And then I have one for scalers who are at a 6-figure level, but they're swamped. They need to grow a small team, but don't want to be a big agency. Sure. So I have my segments very clearly defined, even more so in the new version of the website. I've got 2 of the 3 lead generators, and I'm going to create the 3rd one and get those refined with segments from, or with sequences from the new case studies that I create for sure, that are, a builder, a grower, and a scaler. Perfect. My question is, when people come to webdesignerpro.com, I don't want to deter them from joining to go to the free stuff. So my only apprehension when I see your type of setup on Studio One is do you think that would work for me to have like free resources big and bold somewhere? Or should I use the free resources as more marketing and
marketing,
have
exactly,
website,
to drive people from the podcast, to the free resources. Yeah. And I would also suggest just have an exit pop, like only when they go to leave the website, not an entry pop because they're so damn annoying. But when somebody goes to leave the website and they haven't taken action, they haven't joined, then why not offer them something that's helpful and valuable to them, that's going to give you, a lead that you can nurture. And then when they are ready, you'll be top of mind.
Gotcha. I like that idea for sure. Yeah, because I was always a little bit leery about like when somebody goes to webdesignpro.com, I want them to join. They're likely already, I mean, I'm not really doing cold outreach right now. Maybe if I do cold outreach, that could change a little bit, but that makes total sense. I love that idea. It feels like, what about footer in the website? At least have a link to free resources in the footer. That way, if they're down there, they know it's there.
Yeah, totally.
Probably good for the site map too. Yeah, but I love that idea of an exit. Yeah, I love that idea of an exit pop-up for sure.
Yeah, but also, like you said before, for your marketing from certain blog posts or YouTube videos or podcast episodes that might be completely relevant to one of the lead magnets, you want to send them directly to that lead magnet first. And then on your thank you page, that's where you offer pro and talk about the benefits.
Got it. Thank you page with the pro offer.
And generally speaking, on that thank you page, video page, let's say thank you page, video at the top, and then you just have a repeat of your landing page, your homepage in this case, underneath the video, and just the video thanks them, explains the benefits, and just say the next logical step is blah, blah, blah. And you can even have a limited time offer just specific for people, for a limited time for people that opted in, or I don't know, it's up to you what you want to do there, but it can entice people to take action.
Yeah. One of the best tips I got from Russell Brunson with the ClickFunnels guy is he talked about it was all about the confirmation page and the thank you page where they got folks to opt into a free trial and then it was paid after that. I'm not down with a free trial for pro, but to make a no-brainer offer is definitely what I'm working on.
If you have a 90-day money-back guarantee, we did that with Sack School from 30 to 90. That boosted his conversions.
Oh, interesting. Does he have tiers in Sack School?
No, he has courses all within. He sometimes leads people to a course first, but that all leads into the membership.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I was just thinking I wouldn't do a guarantee with coaching, but like for courses, for sure, I'd be happy to do that. Just because I do find that people just need to get a taste of it, and they're like, okay, yeah,
exactly.
And I think I think these high conversion best principles are even more important in the AI age, which I imagine is the theme. It's the theme of your book, how to stand out in the AI age. But like trust, basically, I'm really, really leaning into trust.
I love it. Yeah, you're doing all the right things. You've got your personal brand website. You've got your podcast. You've got the pro membership. You got lead magnets and everything that you do to get people in there. To me, you've built enough trust already. So you're doing all the right things to build trust in your brand.
Mm-hmm.
You can always do more.
And you probably have experienced this. Yeah, right. You probably experienced this with clients, but I've realized I have so many people who join pro who say, I've been listening to your podcast for 2 years or a year or two. I finally joined. And I'm like, what have I been doing wrong that we had to wait 2 years to join? So that's what I'm working on, is like moving from the 2-year window to like, let's make it to like the 2-day or 2-month window.
So I wouldn't see that as what am I doing wrong? I would see that as if you weren't doing anything, they wouldn't know you exist. So it's a long game. Who cares if it's 2 years? Your future self will thank you for the work you're doing today.
True. I guess I just feel bad for them because it's like you can make so much more money so much faster and get so much more freedom so much faster. Yeah, that's what I like. That it's like it's a shame. It's a shame when I see people, and I get some. Sometimes there's a time and a place where like, you're just not a good place to dedicate to. I get that's it totally, right. But for some folks, I'm like. I mean, I've had pro members tell me, they're like, God, I wish I would have done this, years ago. I could have been full time already, or I could have been going to my kids' baseball games instead of missing them. So
that's a really good point.
That could be a fun little thing I might add in the AI author for some urgency, to help with some urgency on it without being super sleazy and salesy, which is not my style anyway. But
no, exactly. But just talk about the case studies and, how life could look a lot better. Why wait? And then just talk about the risk reversal, which is that whatever day guarantee, 30, 60, 90. Yeah.
Yeah, man. Well, Greg, this has been awesome, dude. This was kind of half coaching session for me, so I really appreciate it. I tell you what, I'm going to give you early access to my new site once it's ready. If you're interested, I'd love your critique, just to give you some high level pointers. But your book, man, next level website design. I told you before we went live. I regret to inform everyone I haven't read it yet. It's on my list, but I have my signed copy. So I'm really, really fired up, especially after this conversation. I know this is all stuff that's unpacked here, but we got the book, and then you got some killer free resources. So where should everyone go next, man?
Yeah, thanks, man. And we've got the audio book coming out shortly too. I've actually had 11 Labs, which is an AI tool, clone my voice, and it's incredible. Like, it's 10 hours of me, and I've listened to it. We've had to tweak it a little bit, but it's pretty damn good. So it's not on Audible just yet. It's on Apple Books, but it's going to go on all the platforms. We're just waiting for them to approve it. But so nextlevelwebsitedesign.com/free if you want the free resources, or just .com if you want to check out the book.
Heck yeah, man. Well, Greg, again, dude, thank you for your time. Thank you for sharing your expertise. Let's get you stateside so you can be a speaker at one of our upcoming WDPCon events, man.
Sounds awesome, man. Thank you so much. I appreciate that offer. Yeah. Keep me posted.
Couple years, I'm hoping to do one overseas. So if we can get down to Australia, we have some Aussie members. So if we can get down to Australia, we'll do one down there.
That'd be cool. Yeah, that'd be super cool. Yeah. Come to Melbourne. It's a city where it's all happening. Terrible government, but a great city. Very cultural.
Well, I'm a tennis guy, so I've always wanted. It's been on my bucket list to go to the tennis tournament down there. So
you are a tennis guy. Yeah. It's incredible here when the tennis is on. It's very popular.
Oh, heck yeah. I'm in. Well, Greg, thanks, man. A blast as always. Till the next time.
You bet. Thank you, Josh. Take care.
All right, my friend, again, I hope you enjoyed this one. So much to learn from Greg. I feel like this was a bit of a masterclass here, and we still just scratched the surface. So if you want to go further into proven principles on website conversion, check out Greg's book, Next Level Website Design. That will be linked over at the show notes for this one at joshhall.co/405. And as we talked about, I would highly recommend that you check out Greg's Studio One Design. His website is studio1design.com. If you want some inspo, because he knows what the heck he's talking about. He is the expert on website conversion, so I can't wait to hear how this one helped. Make sure to send Greg a note. Let him know you heard him on the podcast. Connect with him I think he's active on pretty much every social media platform. So let him know you heard him here. Maybe share a win or a takeaway from this conversation. I know he'd love to hear from you. And a big thanks to Greg for pulling the curtain back on website conversions, on what's working for their agency. And I'm excited to hear how it helps you, my friend. Go to joshhall.co/405 for all the links on this one. Cheers.